What up, Marsh Pod? Happy New Year. Recording this afternoon, January 2nd. But I hope everybody had an enjoyable New Year's Eve, ringing in the 2023 year, putting a official end, obviously, to 2022. And in this new year, what I hope we can do is put an end to some of this ongoing drama. As was reported earlier today on the 2nd, coaches and some parents and some players continue to grow a little weary of the seemingly endless antics that continue to be going on with a couple of players. Now, not here to name names because everybody knows who they are. But I will caution this, and I will personally say this, I hope to be the last time I ever speak on this. I think that this has grown childish, that this is still a discussion, but apparently some people believe that it's a good way to handle themselves. But there are negative returns to these players acting the way in which they are, and I think we're starting to see that. As was reported earlier today, some coaches, some players, and some parents have been concerned, as I said. That rings true with some of the things that I've heard from people close to a handful of organizations, especially on the East Coast. I know for a fact that people in North Carolina do not have interest with playing with other people from North Carolina. Aggregate that as you will, but I think that this is reaching a point where some of these kids are starting to look like that. Like kids. There's nothing wrong with an abundance of confidence. In fact, embrace it. You should feel confident in what you're capable of doing. But as we've seen at the NBA level and at times at the collegiate level, your distraction level off the court does pay negative dividends to your interest level on the court in terms of who will be interested in you. If your presence is so much of a distraction that it's no longer worthwhile of an investment for an organization to bring you in, this is not SimWorld specific, this is across the board, then they're not going to bring you in. There is no obligation, this is specific to SimWorld, that because you are in this league, that you must be signed. That's simply not how it works. You can go on to, let's just pull it up right now. Let's do our favorite thing in the world, great radio, and let's get it there. So bear with me as we get to our, which were just recently announced, which I'd love to be able to talk about, but apparently every other thing in the world has to be discussed. Player rankings. Those came out earlier today, January 2nd. And let me just, let's just pull this up here. Let's get a number for how many players are currently unranked. Okay, and when we're going to do what we would call a math problem. Okay, so get out your notebook because we're going to have to show our work, but we're going to do a little math problem here. We're going to figure out how many players are unsigned according to the ACA Hoops recruit rankings. Then we're going to figure out how many teams we have, and if we said 10 players per team, we're going to figure out how many people we can actually have in this league. There are 200 in the ACA top rankings for unsigned recruits, 200 players. 200. Now, if we were to say the league has 25 teams, times that by 10, that's 250 player availabilities. Now, we can clearly see that 200 does not equal 250. So you might say, well, that's perfect. There's other spots. But then you have to factor in the number of spots and roster spots that are already accounted for, not the signed but not officially signed players like Trey Hyman that are going to teams already that they've either explicitly said it or there's a strong belief that it'll happen. But that doesn't include the guys like Lorenzo Phenom, who is rostered currently regardless of what team it is. That does not include guys like Mackenzie Mbako, who's rostered with Gotham 5. He's not included on this list. This 200 players is the players that are unsigned. So what does that tell us? That means that just because you are an unsigned recruit, there's one, no obligation, and two, not enough roster spots for you to be guaranteed a spot on one of the 20, however many, I believe it's 25, SimWorld Hoops teams. It's as simple as that. So, and we're seeing the first wave of this storm. If you are so much of a distraction on the court that teams, coaches, or players don't want to play with you, you will not be signed. So, talk your talk. Please, let's hear it. Let's see some highlights from 2K. That doesn't matter. What matters is, part A, can you play basketball in a team setting? And part B, arguably as if not more important, can you be a member, a functioning member of that team? If the answer to part B is no, it doesn't matter what the answer to part A is. Kyrie Irving, one of the best basketball players in the world, legitimately, almost didn't have a basketball team to play for because of his off-the-court distractions. So if you think that Kyrie Irving could be almost out of the NBA, that somehow you, with your boisterous attitudes, your stirring of the pot, your distraction level 10, somehow is immune to that, you're wrong. So you have two choices. Act the way you act and see what finds out. The old F around and find out approach, we'll find out. Or you change, you adapt. You stop acting like a 12-year-old that didn't get what he wanted for Christmas and instead got coal in his stocking. Let's be mature. Let's be adults. What do we say? This is the last time I'm talking about it. As I said, we're going to be back on Thursday. We've got, I'll be on the call on Wednesday, so tune in. We're finally wrapping up, and I say that not in a bad way. We're wrapping up the preseason tournaments. I kind of want to go back and we've done this a little bit, but kind of an opinion change on the league as a whole after these tournaments. What was I surprised that was changed about everything that's happened, and what was maybe not so surprising, but nonetheless, we've got actual on-court evidence now. And we've talked a little bit about expectations rising, both for players and coaches that did and did not have successful preseasons. But we are now within 2 months of the start of the regular season. Recruit signings going to start taking shape. There's a lot of NCAA news that we have not reported on. That's going to start coming down. I've been told there's a lot of signings coming from players that have been recruited to these next tier programs. You look on SimWorld Hoops rankings, whether you're a 24/7 SimWorld TV or ESPN type of gal. Top 2 recruits are already signed, right? DJ Wagner going to Kentucky, Mbako going to Duke, Trey Turner, Lorenzo Phenom, Tyson Simpson. These are big names still not signed. Lace Darius Outlaw included among them, just going up to 24/7 Sports rankings right now. That's going to start changing, okay? That's going to start looking a little bit different in the next couple weeks. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about basketball. We're going to talk about basketball and not just off-the-court drama because, and this is true for the NBA, the NBA walks a very tight line between does our product matter more on or off the court. This season, I would argue the NBA's product has mattered more on the court, but in past years, the drama off of it tends to be the skewing of the interest level. Where's Kawhi Leonard going to go? Is Paul George going with him? That summer, the league cared more about the summer of 2019. The NBA viewership cared more about what was going on off the court than what was on it. And that's partially because the Warriors had been so, and this is not a Warriors fandom take, but the Warriors have been so dominant that just there wasn't a lot of drama left to be determined on the court. The NBA has gone in the opposite direction now. You've got a number of intriguing pieces, a number of intriguing players and teams. The league feels very wide open, despite the fact that the top team from last season is struggling, but they still seem to kind of be putting it together in the Warriors. The Celtics are starting to kind of come together. The league is very wide open. SimWorld Hoops, it'll be a respite when we get to March 1st and we actually have basketball to talk about, because that's where the interest level needs to be. And if you are contributing to that not being the case, I don't know that there's a long runway for the league or said player if the attention level continues to skew off the court. We're less than 2 months. We're January 2nd, March 1, we're kicking this thing off. I could not be more excited for the next 2 months to just be done with from a basketball SimWorld Hoop standpoint. Let's just play. All right, we'll see you Thursday.